Hi everyone, today we are playing Zoo Reanimator again. So this is a deck, uh, oh sorry, not again, I have a video with a very similar list, but that list is not playing Grief and the Undying spells. Okay, so here we have the full scam package, Fury, Grief, Undying, 4 Undying Malice, but that's about it. We also have a Persist, which is additional way to scam our Grief and Fury in. And this is also a Reanimator deck, but we are using this Invasion of Pergamon and Territorial Kawu as our discard outlets to get the Archon of Cruelty into the graveyard, but also Invasion of Amonet can mill it when it enters, it mills 3 cards, so it can put the Archon of Cruelty into the graveyard. So using this 8 card as our discard outlets and plus this Invasion of Amonet, we are hoping to get Archon into the graveyard. When Archon is into the graveyard, we can use Persist to bring it back, but also we can flip the Invasion of Amonet. When Invasion of Amonet flips, it enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature in the graveyard except it's a 4/4 black zombie. Okay, so this enters as an Archon if you have Archon in the graveyard, but it's not a 6/6, it's a 4/4, but still it's pretty good. You get the Archon ATB ability, and the game usually ends very fast after that. Okay, so there are eight ways to let's say persist the Archon into play, and this deck is very efficient in flipping this Invasion of Amulet. Basically, if you have it in hand, you can flip it like in 99% of situations. Like attacking it with Cabo flips it, attacking it with Scion of Jacob flips it. Scion also has flying. Attacking with Fury flips it. Attacking with his Camp Grief also flips it. You have 4 Tribal Flames in a deck to immediately just flip it. And there are just so many ways to do this that it's very easy, and it happens like naturally in this deck. Okay, so this deck has so many ways of attacking opponents. I don't know how you sideboard against this deck, but one game I will win with just scamming Grief on turn 1. Other game I will win by scamming Fury, killing your stuff. Next game I will just play Territorial Kavu plus Scion of Draco, attack you, finish you with the Tribal Flames. Next time I'll go for the Invasion of Amonet, flip the Invasion, put Archon or the Fury into graveyard. Also the thing with which is very good interaction between Scion of Draco and Invasion of Amonet. Scion gives black creatures lifelink, and Amonet enters the battlefield as a black creature. So when you copy the Fury with it, Fury enters the battlefield as black creature, and when it deals the 4 damage to creatures, you immediately gain 4 life, which can be very relevant in a lot of matchups. And some also there are some pretty cool interactions here, like Amonet, when it becomes a copy of Scion, it also becomes 4/4 flying lifelinker. Same if you have Scion on the field with any creature. And Invasion of Pergamon is also a very cool invasion for this build, because this is very important in this build. This thing discards your Archon. It also helps you play around Blood Moon better. And not just that, but you can attack this or Tribal Flames it or whatever to flip it, and when it flips it, you can search your library for a battle or a land. So you can sometimes find the basic you can also find the Invasion of Amonet, which is as good as Persist in this deck. And so it's a very good card because it does 2 things. It discards your Archon. 3 things actually. Discards Archon, lets you play around a Blood Moon better, and also ramps you into hardcasting the Furies and Greaves. And also it's also, when you flip it, it can help you find the Persist you need to win the game, or copy the Archon, whatever. Okay, so on the sideboard we have some Blood Moon hate, also Artifact Enchantment hate, some counterspells, some removals, some combo hate and Pet of Perils. Unfortunately, in this league I played that didn't have a Pet of Perils. I again thought about including it pre-game, but decided against it, and I was very sorry about it. That inclusion costed me better result in this league. Okay, so we'll now go through the league and see the matches. Okay, this was match 1. Okay, so I had the Fury and the Undying spell. I also had the Grief, but didn't have a second black card. So I decided to wait, not do anything. I had a Territorial Cow, which was very good turn 2 play. And it seemed like my opponent was playing Infect, and they were just on one land, didn't have a second one. So opponent tries to save their creature with Mutagenic Growth, but I have the Undying. They probably didn't expect the Undying spell, or yeah, probably didn't, because the Zoo decks can play Fury, but they definitely don't play Undying Malice often. But this version, of course, does. And my opponent goes for another dork, but I have like lethal on the board, so opponent concedes. That was the game. A very quick game against Infect, which Fury solves very easily, as you could see. Okay, I had to mulligan there. On the 5 cards, I kept the Invasion plus Archon, also got the Persist immediately. So there are 2 ways to do this. You can go for the Ergamon on turn 2 if you don't have it, if you don't think they have like hate or something. But you can also just go on turn 3, play Ergamon plus Persist, which is usually better, because opponent won't suspect you can do anything. You can do both things in the same turn. So usually I do this. I use the Tribal Flames on my turn to make them use their pump spell. They just played the double Rot Priest, which is very good. But they had like 0 cards in hand at this point, and I was able to bring back my Archon, which meant they really need something good to not just lose the game here. Okay, so they find the Phyrexian Crusader, which is not good enough, and I top deck another Persist, so I decide to attack the Invasion of Ergamon. I was talking about this before the video started. Okay, so by flipping this, I was able to find the Battle or Invasion of Amunet, whatever, and I was able to do this card, put the second Archon into the yard, and this Invasion of Ergamon, both sides are very relevant to this deck. It works very well, same as the Invasion of Amunet does, and it's just a very synergistic deck. I think it works very well. So originally this list was built by by Discord user Zenman. I think I said that right. Okay, sorry, we already watched this. Okay, so that was it. That was game 1 against Infect player. We can go on to the next match. Okay, in the match 2, kept a decent hand. So I have like turn 2 Territorial Caval and potentially flip Invasion of Amunet on turn 3. Opponent starts with Ethervial. I think this was Death and Taxes, which is usually awkward matchup for Zoo, but not really this version. This is not a regular Zoo, definitely. Okay, my opponent had the Ghost Quarter, decided not to use it here. Unfortunately, they go for the Pet to exile on my Cabo, so I didn't have a way here to discard my Archon of Cruelty. So I decided just to ditch the Archon with the Grief ability and go for the Persist. I saw my opponent's hand discarded two non-land cards. They were like the Eldrazi Displacer and Flicker Wisp, leaving them with just planes in hand. And so it was a very good situation for me. I had the Invasion of Amonet, I had the double Tribal Flames, so I can, if I mill anything good with Invasion, I can immediately flip it with my Flames. Okay, so I play, in this situation my opponent is on 0 cards, they still don't use the Ghost Quarter, and now it doesn't matter much because I find another land, but I was able to play the Invasion before that, and I had the Fury in, I had the Scion, so I was able to get those creatures next turn, and probably just finish the game that way. My opponent still didn't use their Ghost Quarters. They maybe just give up at this point or thought like no point because I can flip the Invasion with the Grief anyway. But yeah, I flipped the Invasion, I copied the Fury of course, killed the Giver, and opponent is with 0 cards in hand, decides to concede, and that was it. Okay, so that was game 1 against I think it is like Texas just with Eldrazi Displacer. Okay, this game opponent starts with a Ghost Quarter. As I said, this matchup is usually pretty weird for Domain Zoo. Because of the Ghost Quarters, Leonin Arbiters, they played all that stuff, I know. I decided to use my fetch before they put Leonin Arbiter into play. That's why I went for the fetch on turn 1. So I go immediately for my second fetch. I really want to use it before the Arbiter hits the field, but they decide to go for the Ghost Quarter in response. So I wasn't able to play my Scion, but it was fine because if they don't use another Ghost Quarter, I have the Zagot to play the Scion next turn. And then I can probably play the Amonet after that and flip it. Okay, so I go for the Zagot, play my Scion here as a blocker. They had the Path to Exile, but they're just on one land here, though they have the Etherwile. Opponent plays the Flicker Wisp, exiles my Sacred Foundry, which means I don't have a full domain here, but still I'm able to play the Invasion, which was anyway my definite play for this turn. I mill Cyano Draco, which is okay, not bad. Scion gives my black creatures a lifelink, and when you flip it with Invasion, it immediately has the lifelink itself. So it's pretty important in this type of games to just get lifelink, and it will mostly be very hard for opponent to try to raise that. So I go for the Grief scam here. I discard the Solitude and the Arbiter from their hand, leaving them with just Prismatic Ending in hand. Then I go for the Tribal Flames on my Invasion. To flip it, cast it, I got the Archon of Cruelty in the yard, so I copied the Archon from my graveyard, and they have to sack something, discard the Prismatic Ending, I get to draw a card, and they decide it's time for Concede. Okay, so that were pretty quick games against Death and Taxes. No high chances for winning there for them. Okay, so let's see the match number 4. I had the turn 1 Scam Grave here, but just the one land. I decided to keep it anyway. Well, I didn't get the second land, so I decided to not do it turn 1, but turn 2, so I can get my Triumph. It's a 5-color deck, so it's really not the same as It's really not the same as when you're playing like Rakdos. So I scam my grief and I get the decent trade here. They still use the Rift Bolt to kill my Fury, and I got some time here to put Archon into the graveyard, play the grief, discard, see their hand, discard the relevant stuff. They had the play with fire and had the second play with fire to do the draw 2, and I just played the persist on my turn to bring back Archon, and Archon with 0 cards in opponent hand is definitely game over, so they concede. That was win against Burn. Pretty easy to win this way, especially when you have Scion in your deck with so many black creatures plus Invasion of Amonet. Plus, also, they have to worry about you uh, reanimating Archon. It's really terrible matchup for my opponent, which just is probably not sure what to even board in. Okay, so I go for the Zagot here, and I definitely want to play the Scion and make my creatures have make my creatures have a lifelink. So I definitely want to play the black creature. That's what I wanted to say. I go for the grief here and discard 2 cards from my opponent hand, leaving them with just 1 Boros Charm. They also don't have white mana at this moment, so I'm able to cast the Scion next turn. Also holding the Stubborn Denial and attacking with the life linker. 2/1 lifelinker because of the Scion. Then I play my Invasion of Amonet, attack it with Scion, get another lifelinker with the Invasion flip, and also when you copy the Kavu, it becomes a 5/5, not a 4/4, which can be relevant. So now the Kavu is 5/5 first strike trample lifelink, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, my burn opponent concedes the game. So was that the game too? Yeah. Okay, it was. Okay, so let's go on to the losses. I finished this league 3-2, and 2 losses were against Hammer, and it was mostly because prior to the start of the match I decided not to include the Pet of Perils. I thought like maybe I can win against Hammer without Perils, but yeah, Hammer is just a very good deck. You need to have more hate for it, and it's a really common deck also at the moment, so I also kept a pretty greedy hand. Just a one-lander with the domain deck, of course. I had Fury scam available, and I was hoping for just another land would be pretty good. But they had the Urza Saga type of hand, which and my Fury hand just didn't work out very well against it. If they had like turn 1 creature into turn 2 creature, the Fury would be much better. This way, it didn't really do what I needed. They had the Sigarda Zaid plus Urza Saga hand, which is probably the worst for this type of hand I had. So my opponent goes for the construct, equips the Colossus Hammer, finds the Shadow Spear, and I decide to just let it happen. I don't really have much choice here, and that was the game 1. Loss against Hammer, greedy keep. But I still have a lot of stuff that are good against Hammer, of course. Scamming Grief on turn 1, Scamming Fury. I have Leyland Bindings on the sideboard. I have Tear Sunders. But yeah, I think I still need the Pet of Perils too. I decide to go immediately remove the Sigarda's Aid. So I only had 1 creature at this point, so I really wanted to like get rid of the Sigarda's Aid on time so they can't use the Blacksmith skill or whatever they play. Okay, I go for the Fury discard here, attack with Kavu, then play Persist, bring back Fury, kill two of their remaining creatures. They save one with a skill because they had a Cauldron in hand, but I play my Scion. So it's now a Caldra against three of my guys. And they decide to go for the attacks, put me on 7 life. I got the invasion of Amonet here, and the invasion milled the Archon. So this is the thing that really happens frequently. It's not something that happens once in a lifetime, whatever. So I get to flip the invasion, copy the Archon, put myself on 10 life, far from lethal, and my opponent is on 1 card now, decides to concede, so that was the game. We went to game 3. Yeah, if I had like Pet of Perils, 3 Pet of Perils on my side, at this point, with the start like this, Tear Sunder, Binding, a Scion, it would probably go in my favor. But yeah, it didn't. I was in okay position. I had they went for hammer here, but I had Tear Asunder to get rid of Saga, which is very important. I also have a Scion plus Leyline Binding for the next turn. They had Caldra in hand, but it was fine because I had my Binding plus cast the Scion, but my draws were pretty bad. Like already had one Malice and one Persist in hand and draw into a second Malice and second Persist, which was very, very useless. And considering I got a lot of useful stuff in this matchup in my deck, I succeeded to draw a lot of really useless cards like Persists, Undying Malice, without my Scam Elementals. So my opponent in the meantime find hammer, draw a card from it, find a Stoneforge to cast a hammer and draw another card. At this point their Giver of Runes was already active, so my position was not good. I find Fury here to kind of help me a bit, but yeah, so I killed the Giver, but my opponent just needed, like, I'm in a pretty bad position. Um, I either have to double jump or whatever. So I just decided to concede the game, and I didn't see myself winning this one. So I just intentionally attacked with the Scion and conceded there. So we can now watch the next loss, also against Hammer Time, which just I think Pet of Perils were really needed for me to be better in that matchup. My hands were also considerably weaker in these games against Hammer Time than the other games. I have the Ammonet here. I have the Tribal Flames. So I have some options definitely. I also decided to go for the Savai pool here because of the Invasion of Ammonet. It's easier to cast it that way. So I find the forest and go to kill, decide to kill their creature and play my invasion. My opponent, just draw another land, so very bad draws. I discard the Caldra from their hand, but once again, Saga making constructs, finding hammer was a very good way for my opponents to win this. I play another invasion just to get uh, another land from the top, and also the next draw was Archon, which was also useless at this point. So that was the game. Okay, so this is the last match. The last match against Hammer Time. Again, I decided to go for the Tear Thunder on Sigarda's aid. So I only have one removal at this point, so I really didn't want them to protect the Blacksmith skill next turn with it. And they got the Sanctifier, and yeah, Sanctifier was real problem here because I didn't have my Pet of Perils in the sideboard, and Pet of Perils is a very good way to get rid of it. So this means when they have the Sanctifier, I really have to find my Archon to win this game, and it's often not that easy to do this. I also can kill the Sanctifier with Tear Asunder, but I already have two of them in the graveyard. I don't have much options here, just a few Greaves in hand and the Fury on the field, while my opponent is building their board with the Urza Saga, and they top deck the Paladin to immediately kill me with Sanctifier. So that was the game. Okay, that were all the games from this league. So I began the league pretty unprepared for the hammer time. I think these Path of Perils are really needed. You kind of, when playing this type of deck, you need this something like Hiratsugu or a Path of Peril or Brotherhood's End or a Temporary Lockdown or Engineered Explosives, some card that can just kill or their 1 mana, 2 mana stuff. I think Path of Peril is the best probably option for this deck because they're playing Sanctifier and Vec, which is really good against Archon, Grief, and Fury. And that's it. Okay, so that was the entire league. Hope you liked the deck. Hope you liked the gameplay. If you want to help the channel, click like, click subscribe, comment in the video. Also, you can now join the Discord when you can see all my brews from before they get to the YouTube. I put all the daily brews in the Discord. There is a link on my YouTube page. And that is it. Okay, for today, goodbye.